The big voice. KWTN 100.9 FM. Nebraska. The official radio station of the Winnebago Tribe.
Hello, beautiful world. Good morning, good afternoon, good day, good night, good everything. Welcome to Winnebago Talks. We are the Big Voice Radio, and we go live for Winnebago Talks every Tuesday here on KWTN 100.9 FM. I am Bethany Redhorn, the Winnebago Communications Office Manager, and I am joined by...
Good morning, everyone. I am Tyler Snake, the Winnebago Indian News Office Circulation Manager.
And good morning, everyone. I'm Brian Chamberlain, editor for the Winnebago Indian News and MCBKC here at KWTN 100.9 FM.
All right, and so today we'll have a lot of things to talk about.
Yes, indeed. We have a lot of information to get to, guys, so call your friends because there's a lot of really good and important information that we're going to be sharing on the show today. So I mean it, guys, get a hold of your friends, share this feed, get this information out there because, again, I can't stress it enough. The importance of what we're going to talk about today is really up there. So
Yes. So to start us off, we run through some updates. And so one thing that I wanted to make mention of is that we have our regular programming throughout the week. And so Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we have the Big Hour. Tuesdays, we have Winnebago Talks. And so we also get into some updates from the Winnebago Indian News.
yes,
So I'll just
indeed.
let
And
you
so,
have the floor.
Sure. Every 2 weeks, the Winnebago Indian News comes out, and so we are actually in print week, and so our deadline is today. So if you have something that you want to put into the Winnebago Indian News for this issue that is going to be in your mailboxes on Saturday, today is your deadline, and we ask that you do not wait till the last minute because the pages are quite full already. So make sure you get a hold of myself or Tyler at tyler.snake@winnebagotribe.com, brian.chamberlain@winnebagotribe.com, and send us whatever information you want to have put into the Winnebago Indian News.
Definitely. So a little bit about the last issue.
Yeah, the last time around, we had a lot of good information that we're able to share. And of course, the main headline, which is what we're going to talk about, probably topic number one here today, is the Winnebago Tribal Council approved the general welfare exclusion payment in their last political day.
Yes.
But the point is, it was approved. And so, tribal members, if you have not yet went online, scanned the code, or done the paperwork necessary, you need to get it done ASAP because the deadline for filing for this information is November the 15th. Once that day goes by, you are basically SOL. So do not wait until last minute. Do not wait until whatever it is you're waiting for. Get it done now, get it done today. Also, the other part of that information is share this with your relatives who are not on social media, such as your elders or other people that you know don't have Facebook or other social media that we're putting it out there. Because yes, we did put this into the Winnebago Indian News print version, and that has a pretty massive reach, but not everybody may have got this information, especially if they are not online. So your elders, make sure they know about it. If they need help filling out their form, they can get a hold of the Winnebago Senior Citizens Center because they are providing that type of assistance, and they will take the ball from there. Again, get this word out, guys. Spread it around as much as possible because once the deadline goes past, there is no going back, and that is not a policy. It's just how the money is being put forward and the source of that money as well.
Yep. So as you mentioned, that electronic deadline, November 15th, there's the QR code, and you can always go to winnebagotribe.com
Yes.
for more information.
Yes, this information is on the tribe's website as well. And then once the deadline is passed, there are two basic payment options. If you have a bank account, you can enter that information, your routing information, all of that type of thing, and you will receive an electronic distribution that you'll get, I think, on November 26th. On or about that date.
Yes.
And then if you do not have a bank account, paper checks will be issued on December 4th and 5th at the Whirling Thunder Wellness Center. And so you'll have to come down and pick up your paper check if that's the way that you want it. You get to choose how you receive your check. Just remember that if you have an electronic bank account, a routing number, you'll get it sooner. If not, you'll wait for a paper check on one of those 2 days, and then that will go out. Also, behind that, the money that is distributed must leave the tribe's bank account by December 31st, 2024, close of business. That means on New Year's Eve, if you have not yet cashed your check, your money is going to be gone.
Yep.
The source of this funding is what determines these deadlines, guys. It's not the tribe. It's not somebody acting some kind of way. It's not that type of thing. It's where the money's coming from, and these guidelines and these parameters have to be met. It doesn't mean that you have to spend it by the December 31st. It doesn't even tell you how to spend it. It just has to leave the tribe's bank account. It has to go through their bank account by that date. So get your check, put it into your own bank account, cash it, go do whatever you're going to do with it, but make sure it leaves the tribe's bank account before the end of the year.
As he mentioned, they will not be reissued.
They will not, no. And again, this is not an individual's finance doesn't want to do something. I know how sometimes people try to blame people and that kind of stuff. No, the source of these funds is what determines these deadlines. So again, the deadline to sign up is November 15th. Once that deadline goes by, if you haven't done it, you're basically SOL, and everyone's been trying to tell you, and you know what needs to get done. Then, if you have a bank account, you can sign up for the electronic distribution to come to your account in late November. I believe it's the 26th.
Yes.
And then if not, you want to wait for a paper check. Those will be distributed 2 days in December, December 4th and December 5th, I believe. And then also, the money must leave the tribe's account before December 31st, 2024, close of business. So the other question that gets put out there, guys, is the youth accounts are already accounted for. They don't need to file. They don't need to claim it. That is getting put into their individual trust accounts. So if they have and were enrolled by the date of approval, which I think was October 9th, if I'm not mistaken, then they're already in. So minors, they're already taken care of. Parents, you don't have to worry. That money is going to get put into their account. They got $150, and as well as the clothing allowance. So that's why they were basically evening everything out.
Yep, that was good to mention. And just to reiterate, just because those deadlines are right around the corner. So.
Yes, again, I can't say it enough. Get it filed, guys. We have about a third of the tribal membership done at this point. So that means 2/3 of y'all, you need to get on the ball. November 15th is just around the corner, and I mean it because it's an electronic version. The server sometimes can get overloaded, so do not wait until the 15th. Do not wait. Get it done today. Get it done now. You're on your phone, you're looking at it, scan the code, have your ID ready because you need to upload a picture of your ID and get it done. Also, please help spread this word to our elders and those that are not on social media, because we want to make sure everybody gets in on this, because it's this year's de facto per capita.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, BKC, for running through that
Sure.
for us. So any other mentions to make from the W.I.N and...
I'll just say, if you need to update your address, if you want to get on the mailing list or anything of this sort, just email me at tyler.snake@winnebagotribe.com.
Yes. And so the new issue will be coming out in your mailboxes on Saturday. I think the actual print date is Friday. So we'll be looking forward to that.
All right.
And then we
so-
also have some questions for you guys later on.
I'm scared.
Okay, for my answer is...
Yeah, the answer B, that's what it is when Brian does it. The answer B.
I like that
Do we
one.
get a hint?
No.
Nope. I knew it was coming. But we do have two special guests here in the studio that will be joining us. And so I am going to ask MCBKC to stay with me here. And so Tyler will be back when we get into my answer is, but I'll ask our lady guest to come on up to the table here. And then
Yeah, wherever you're comfortable.
I am just sharing the PDF version, so the online version of the Winnebago Indian News.
Yeah.
So if you are not able to, for whatever reason, get your hands on a paper copy, you can always go to WinnebagoTribe.com. There's a Winnebago Indian News tab, and you can view previous editions, or you can see the current issue.
Yeah.
I love those colors together, purple and green.
Yeah, we're in October, so we're kind of keeping a little bit ghoulish and whatever else. So we do have two special guests here in the studio, and we're letting them get situated, and we'll bring their mics up, and make sure that the levels are right where they need to be so it doesn't sound like either one is yelling. No. So as soon as we're ready, here in the KWTN 100.9 FM Big Voice Radio Studios, we are joined by Jane Klebb, who is the chairwoman of the Nebraska Democratic Committee, correct?
Yes.
And then also Cynthia Lemire, who is very much involved with the Nebraska Democratic Committee as well as the National Committee, and who represented the state of Nebraska at the National Convention last fall, or this past fall, just about maybe a month and a half ago, out in Chicago, Cynthia Lemire. So welcome to KWTN, ladies.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome, ladies. How are you both feeling today?
Well, I'm feeling good. We have a lot of good momentum and energy on the ground across the state for
Yeah.
both Harris and Walz, and a lot of our good, strong down ballot candidates. So we're feeling positive, but we got to run through that tape, right?
Yeah,
Got to keep on
absolutely.
knocking
Yeah.
doors, talking to voters.
So we're about, are we at 18 days? 17 days?
2 weeks from today.
Oh, is it
2
14
weeks.
days?
2
Oh,
weeks from
gosh.
today.
Yeah, it's flying by even quicker than I thought. So what we're here to talk about is some of the information related to the overall presidential election, as well as some of the important information regarding the down ballot measures. There are several races, of course, that you will be voting for. It isn't just about the president. There are multiple elections that are being held, not only on the national level, but of course the state level as well as very important initiatives that we're going to try to get the word out as well. And what we also want to, I guess, preface our conversation here today is the invitation was extended to all political parties, and we're very much happy that Mrs. Klebb and Mrs. Lemire were able to join us here today.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah, it's too bad that the Republicans aren't here, because having conversations and keeping them accountable for what they did and did not do when Trump was in office is important.
I could go on for days.
I'm just here to learn because you know what, there's a lot to know, and the importance of getting the vote out. So I'll just kind of let you kind of let us know a little bit more about Jane and some of your efforts with the Democratic Party. And
Yeah, love to. So I've been to Winnebago several times. Frank Lemire, Cynthia's husband, who we lost a couple years ago, was our vice chair and a really good friend of mine. So have done a lot of advocacy in the state. I think most folks in rural areas know me through the fight against the Keystone XL pipeline. So
Right.
that took 13 years of my life, making sure that both tribal land and farmers and ranchers' land was protected and not kind of hurt by a tar sands pipeline. I became chair in late 2016. So after the kind of Hillary Trump campaign, I became chair and have been reelected 3 times. And it's been a focus of mine to not just stay in Lincoln and Omaha as a party, to really expand into rural areas. So we have a new program called the Block Captains, where anybody can sign up, and we assign 50 households that are in your neighborhood, and those become your voters. And we send you materials 3 times during the year. So our block captains right now, for example, are delivering a paper called Dems Deliver that has information about candidates in the party
Okay.
and where we stand. So, you know, I think the party's in a good position. We're obviously the minority party in this state, but we have the blue dot of Omaha, which has become a national focus. And Lincoln is certainly growing more Democratic. And, you know, Thurston County
Yeah.
used to be our blue dot. We lost
Right.
it only by a few votes last time,
60.
so we got to get that back.
Yes, exactly. And
So-
I'm glad you're saying that, because the voters of Thurston County, there's not a lot of us, you know, of course, we're not metropolitan Omaha, et cetera, but at the same time, we are able to carry the entire area, the entire county, the
Yes.
entire district when we show up.
Right.
It's about getting to the polls and making sure that your voice is heard, because across the board, no matter what the issue is, the right to vote is something that, of course, is at the fundamental basis of who we are as a nation.
Correct.
And so exercising that right is, in my opinion, one of the responsibilities we have as citizens.
Yes, and even more so as tribal,
Absolutely.
people of our veterans that served
Absolutely.
disproportionately. And we are Democratic majority in Thurston County by at least 1,000 votes. And
Yes,
that's been
indeed.
kind of historical.
Yes.
So Thurston County is a Democratic county.
Yes.
We just need to turn out. And a simple stat is Thurston County turned blue since 2020 by 60 votes.
Wow.
60 Republican votes turned us
Okay.
red.
So
from
I think
blue.
that was my dad's side of the family. Huh? And I would say that because
We all have family members.
it was only half.
Yeah. So it's very important in Indian country to honor our veterans, all of our veterans from every, war.
Absolutely.
And use this privilege that we have as tribal nation citizens and as U.S. citizens and exercise our vote. And it's not just presidential, like I keep saying, is it's the president election is very important because that administration sets the framework for what's going to happen
Absolutely.
throughout the cabinets
Yes,
and
indeed.
departments. And all of that directly affects our tribal relations, one-on-one, government to government.
Yes.
And how they set the framework. And then everything that happens around us too, which is county elections, state legislatures, all of those kind of things that even though we're our own sovereign nation, all these other things also impact us. So those down ballots are very important.
Yes, they are.
Also. So
And let's take it back a little bit just to the fundamental part of it. We have voters out there that may be voting for the first time or have only come to the polls, until recently. What does down ballot mean?
Yes, down ballot basically means anyone underneath federal candidates. So at the federal level, we have president and vice president, U.S. Senate and House of Representatives. And then we consider everything else down ballot. So state board of education, state legislature, school board, NRD, all those
Right.
local and state offices.
Yes, because if you're not familiar with the voting process here, when we go through these basically statewide elections, and we'll use that term right now, the ballot is so much more than just the president and or the senators that may be on the ballot, depending on what year we're in, etc. There are multiple lower offices, such as the county board, the village board, like you said, the school board, as well as the initiatives that have been brought forward either by petition from the people of Nebraska or an effort through the unicameral. And we have multiple initiatives on the ballot this year, and they are extremely important.
They are. And it gets confusing. So if you go to nebraskademocrats.org, on our homepage, we have some big buttons. One of them says Democratic Voter Guides. We
Yes.
did a voter guide for every single county in the state. And that includes not only the top of the ticket, but all those down ballot races. And it includes the ballot initiatives.
Right.
Because basically, you have two competing. We're the only state in the nation that has ever had two competing abortion ballots at the same time on the
Yes.
ballot. So it's important, in number order, it's the first one you want to vote against, and then comes the second ballot initiative, which is just about repealing a really bad law around giving public dollars to private schools. So
Yes.
you vote against and then repeal, and then the rest of the ballot initiatives we're telling people to vote for, because that's, for the 2 medical marijuana initiatives, for paid sick leave, and for the abortion law that gives women the right to choose.
Right. And again, the initiatives, they are further down ballot. That's why we
They
use that
are.
phrase. And then they are important that you do weigh in on them. So don't just, try not to just willy-nilly mark yes, no, yes, no. Don't do eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Yes.
Please don't do that. The information is important, and it's based on your values as well. I'm very thankful that this type of information does come out because the availability of healthcare choices to women in general,
Yes.
I believe, is between a woman and her doctor. And that is
Yes.
my individual opinion, and I have the right to that, and I'm expressing that here. But at the same time, when that has been infringed upon by whatever the unicameral has done and or the governor, etc., those type of actions need to be rectified, because there are so many scenarios and situations that women find themselves in, and it's never this cavalier type, oh, hey, let's go do this. It is a very serious situation, and I want to make sure that the state of Nebraska honors the women of our state and gives and keeps them and allows them to retain that right to choose.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, the Republicans have really turned this into a weapon against
Yes.
women, their husbands, their partners and families, and doctors. The doctor who delivered my babies in Hastings, he's now delivering babies for 56 counties in Nebraska.
Wow.
Because our state has so severely underfunded maternal care in rural hospitals.
Right.
So, if we're serious about taking care of women and children and building our families, it's about making sure our hospitals have resources and our doctors have
Exactly.
resources to take care of folks. And I think that's where the clear divide between Democrats and Republicans is that we deeply believe that women and families should be able to choose
Yes.
and make those decisions for themselves.
Exactly. And because none of those scenarios are ever, I guess, ideal.
That's right.
And that's, for me, it's like when we come into, like, to the social side of it, it's so much more than that. And my point in that is just saying that when these initiatives are on the ballot, you need to support them because they give women the right to choose. I am not a woman, so I want to make sure that my voice is heard, that I'm not in between her and her doctor. I'm not in between her and the choice that needs to be made, because it's not always a good choice, meaning that it's a tough choice. It's a hard
Exactly.
choice. And women never talk about those things. Women don't bring those things to the public eye because it's between them and their doctor, and that's why it needs to stay there. But the right needs to be preserved.
Exactly.
So the other side of what we're going to, I guess what we need to bring up here with this information as well is how you gave us your website. Is there like a text number that we can have them text, like, 5555 to a certain number? Do you have that information with you?
We, I'm trying to think of the text number. I know that we have that,
Okay,
but there
yeah. Sorry to
is
put you on the
on
spot.
our, no, it's fine. On our website, we also have a hotline for voters. So
Okay.
in addition to the Democratic Voter Guide, there's also a button that has the voting hotline and voter information.
Right.
Things like making sure you bring your voter ID. This will be the first presidential year that we're
Yes.
having to bring an ID.
Yes.
And obviously your tribal photo ID is allowable. Don't let anybody tell you it's not. The Democrats in the legislature worked hard to make sure that was in the state
included.
law.
Yes.
And a college ID also works, as long as it's not a private university, as long as it's a public one. So we have a hotline, and before we get off air, I will have the text.
No problem, because I know that, and the reason why I'm asking that type of question is because I receive that information and it comes to me on my cell phone, and I like having that because, again, the confusion in the ballot is very real. And so if you're able to know we should vote for this, we should not vote for that, then that is very helpful, because it's a guide for you to be able to use when election day comes. Because again, getting this information out there is the most important part. Letting the voters and the electorate know what is going on and what needs to be supported or what should not gain your support, etc. It's so beyond important, and I'm glad that we're having this kind of conversation here today.
Yes.
Yeah. For the hotline, just in case folks want to jot down this number, it's 402-946-0005. So 402-946-0005. You can call that, and we have lawyers and volunteers making sure that your voting questions are answered.
Right. And so the polls will be here in Winnebago. I believe they're being held at the fire department, or the fire hall, which is typically where they are. And then, you'll see the sign out, and the polls are from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., I believe. And so you'll be able to come down there. Again, bring your photo ID, because the unicameral did enact that change, and it was signed into law by the governor. So you do need a photo ID, but it does not have to be only a driver's license. It can be a driver's license, a state issued ID, and like you said, a college ID, a tribal ID is also valid, and bring it down with you to avoid any kind of problem, any kind of confusion. And then also, don't let that hold you back from voting. Just find the documents, get that stuff together. You still have a little bit of time. If you don't have one, go get one. The enrollment department is open right now. They can get that for you, and you'll be eligible to vote. Also, registering to vote. Now, the online registration date has passed. That was on the 18th, but you can still go down. We're here in Thurston County. You can still go in person to the county clerk's office in Pender and register to vote.
Correct. And you can vote at the same time.
Also.
Oh, okay.
So early voting is now open. So up until October 25th, you can register to vote and vote at the same time.
Okay.
And then until November 4th, you can vote early. So all you have to do is walk into the office at 503 Main Street for Thurston County, 106 South 5th Street in Pender.
Yeah.
You just go into the clerk's office. You can register to vote until October 25th, and you can vote early. You can vote early up until November 4th. So I tell folks, bring your phone, so you have the voter guide in front of you, so you know how to vote on the ballot initiatives in particular, because that language is confusing, and all those down ballot candidates, and you can vote early.
Yes, indeed. Again, this is all about education, all about getting the voters to the polls, because that's what matters. And again, coming back to the main point of the voters. And I'm also glad that, Cynthia, you brought this up earlier, because one of our councilwomen, Lorelei Decora, is extremely adamant about this point. Honor what your veterans fought for. Our people, both men and women, stood up and fought for this right. And she says it very boldly. She says it very openly. And I agree with her wholeheartedly. I'm glad she does say it as, conspicuously as she does, because our people fought for this right. And so exercise it at every opportunity. So
Yes, very much so.
I think, the issues that also everybody has an issue that they deeply care about,
Yeah.
whether it is protecting public schools from the private investments that the Republicans are trying to push,
Yes.
whether it's choice, whether it's paid sick leave, whether for us in rural communities, I come from a ranching family, and so land and water are super important to us. We know how critical that is to tribal nations as well. And we just know that Democrats consistently and historically have done better to protect our land and water, the sovereign rights of tribal nations, than Republicans. So we have to make sure that the issues that we care about, maybe the issues that take us to the streets to protest, are then backed up with our votes of getting better people elected.
Absolutely. And to that point, again, these down ballot issues, they matter. And so the ones that are on the ballot this year are extremely important. We've talked about only a few of them, but there are others that are on there as well. For me, it goes back to the separation of church and state, the government money going into private schools. When I first saw that, I was like, are you kidding? Your grandparents are rolling in their graves.
Yes,
It's
very
like,
much so.
if this was, I know that Republicans, I say this, want to take us back to the 1950s. The 1950s Republicans would be screaming.
They would be screaming.
Yes, it's like, you're giving money to Saint who? So it's kind of crazy.
Tax dollars.
Especially in our rural schools where Republicans dominate. Rural schools are the heart of our rural communities.
Yeah.
And some of our rural communities, it's the largest employer.
Yes.
And is one of the main institutions that's still open, where
Yes.
they have, lots of, public education events, not just school, where people gather for football games and community events. So it's really shocking, but this is the playbook that the Republicans have had. They've had a long view of making sure, in their view, they call public schools government schools. And so they want to do away with quote unquote government schools, when we all know that public schools is the great equalizer. You come
Yes.
from a poor or a rich family, middle class family, it's one of those opportunities that everybody has.
Yes, and also, my degree is political science, so of course I'm taken back to some of my, fundamental classes with that, and the statements from Ben Franklin regarding, of course, public school education and et cetera. I'm hearing my instructors when they were drilling it into our heads, but at the same time, public schools, they are truly the core and the backbone of rural communities, and to all the points that you're stating there, so very good stuff. To turn, the page a little bit on this, down ballot, if you will, maybe it's not so far down, we also have both Nebraska senators
Yes.
are up for election. And so can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. This is the first time in our state's history that we have 2 U.S. Senate seats up at the same time.
Yes.
And we have this because Ben Sass left his seat early to go to Florida and then was involved in lots of corruption, but that's a whole other story. Ricketts got appointed
Spill
to
the tea.
Yeah, exactly. Ricketts got appointed to the seat that he wanted to buy, basically.
Exactly.
So he is running for a 2-year term.
Yes.
And Preston Love is the Democrat. And so Preston is going up against Pete Ricketts. Preston is a former Husker football player and longtime civil rights leader from North Omaha, African-American, ran Jesse Jackson's presidential campaign back in the day.
Okay.
Preston is just one of those individuals who is always there to serve the community. And if he got a chance to be in the U.S. Senate, would be the first African-American our state sends. And you would send a real person who actually looks out for the people, versus Ricketts, who's spending about $10 million of him and his mom and dad's money this year to try to flip certain seats and push the pro-life ballot initiative,
Right.
or anti-choice ballot initiative this year. So Ricketts, not great, but definitely Preston Love is our choice, obviously, because we're Democrats. And then there's a more complicated race with Deb Fischer and
Yes.
Dan Osborne. Dan Osborne is an independent, and I respect independents. Our party respects independents. We've endorsed about 13 different independent candidates this cycle in different races, including state legislature. We had offered Dan Osborne the endorsement. He had taken it, and then basically after the date that we could file a candidate, said that he didn't want it anymore. So it blocked our ability to have a Democrat on the ballot.
Okay.
So that was an unfortunate situation. Although I always do say, look, my name's not on the ballot as party chair. Candidates' names are on.
Yeah.
And every candidate has a right to change their mind and make decisions. You know, voters really have to weigh who's best for them on the key issues that they care about, because Dan is not a traditional Democrat on many issues, including climate change and guns and immigration.
Despite the ads.
Despite the ads, yeah, especially the ads. The Republicans are trying to say that he's a Democrat, and he's not. He is a true independent, and
I agree.
you know, voters can respect that.
Yeah.
You know, on the other hand, Deb Fischer did great by tribal nations carrying the land back.
Yep.
You know, initiative.
But it was an easy carry.
So
it was already
it's this
kind of-
balance, you know.
Yeah, with that. And I guess, you know, there's a lot of good information there. And again, research your candidates. They all have websites, you know, basically go to their name or even Google them and they'll probably come up and they'll tell you everything and anything you'd ever want to know about them. But the one thing I wanted to point out here, because we did talk about it, you are, of course, the chair of the, I almost said national. Hey, you're moving
quite
up.
the promotion.
You're moving up, according to me. The Winnebago Indian said it. No, just kidding. But what I was going to bring forward with that is that you do not have to be a Democrat to vote for the Democratic candidates.
That's
you do
correct.
not have to
For
be
the general election, that's correct,
You do not
yes.
have to be registered with any one of the parties in order to vote for the whatever initiatives that we're talking about. You just have to be a registered voter. So don't think that we're very glad you're here and thank you for coming, but don't think just because, you know, Jane Klebb is here that is the qualifier. No.
That's right.
What we're pushing forward and what we're trying to educate our listeners and our voters with is information on how best to serve the people of our state, the people of our tribe, and on the matters that, you know, have impact with our people.
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
that's right. And some people will vote Democratic all the way up and down the ballot, and
Yeah.
we'll use our voter guide to do that. It's why we create the voter guide. And there are certainly Republicans in our local community that there's no Democrat running in that we really support because they are local Republicans who
Right.
deeply care about our communities. I think that's the beautiful thing about Nebraska is, especially at the local level, you start to get to know each other on a more personal level.
Yes.
And you see county commissioners, school board members doing the right thing despite what their national party is doing.
Yeah, and that's a very good point that you bring up there because one of my family members who I'm very, very close with actually had a conversation very recently with somebody from the red zone. And what I mean by that is that person lives just outside of Norfolk, Nebraska. And as what you guys know, you know, the reddest of the red is Madison County and
Yes.
Stanton County and et cetera. And it's like, hey, look, there was a Democrat, you know, and it's like, it's said that way. But at the same time, in that conversation my relative had with this lady, she actually turned her around and was able to see how far off the stuff that Republicans are inundated with, especially those that watch faux news and that kind of stuff like that. It's like, be afraid, be scared, you know, they're coming for you and all. That's what the constant message is. But by showing her actual compassion, leading her to, especially in this issue regarding, you know, the ballot initiative for choice, the women's choice, she was like, I was in that situation. And then she said, you would not have been able to receive the health care had this been in place at that time. That type of thing, she said it had like this, you know, seismic change. She said she could physically see it in her and stuff. And she's like, wow, I have to understand what I'm doing. And it's like, yeah. And at the same time, you know, preserving the rights for other women, et cetera. I know, you know, we're not just harping on that one issue, but it is so important.
so
you know.
critical.
And at the same time, you know, get out there and talk to people. Because also at the same time, a little bit of a plug for the Winnebago Indian News in this, we have been starting and restarting the editorial process. And so we have had 2 general conversations so far in print to where we're putting out opinion. Because one thing that has definitely been hindered in American society is the ability to have a political discussion. Without
Exactly.
sitting there thinking that I hate you, I want to, you know, burn your house down, you know, all that, whatever else, you know, move away, move to Canada, I can't wait for you to leave, that kind of stuff, you know. It's like have a political discussion and be able to understand where the other point of view is coming from.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
that's right.
Right.
And I think when we have those conversations, we learn from each other.
Yes.
It was one of during both the Obamacare fight, which was a statewide effort, and Keystone XL, both of those won because urban and rural people started to listen to each other.
Yes.
And started to realize, actually, no, you're not going to get shot if you walk down the streets of Omaha.
Yes.
And no, not everybody rides their horses everywhere to get groceries and go to school in rural Nebraska. So, there's a lot of learning on both sides because we are relying on each other.
Yes.
Urban Nebraska relies on rural to not only grow food and fiber and fuel with ethanol, but also to grow energy,
Yes.
clean energy in particular. And urban Nebraska really provides a tax base to make sure that rural Nebraska continues to exist, which sometimes doesn't get talked about enough. So we do rely on each other for a mutual existence.
Yes, and Nebraska is such a diverse state in all, on all fields.
Right.
The spectrum is wide. Like you said, the urban areas may seem to get a lot more attention simply because of the volume and the number of people. But what happens in downtown Omaha does also impact what's happening, here in rural Thurston County, Nebraska, and any place outside that isn't in, Lincoln or Omaha. We're tied together, and I absolutely love that. And these successful long-term political candidates are really those that have seen that path. You go
Yes.
back in
Yes.
time and you talk about some of the people that have had truly successful political careers. J.J. Exxon, of course, Ben Nelson. Yep. And then from the other side as well, the Republican governors who were able to kind of cross the divide. So-
Or senators who represented
Yes.
Winnebagos very well.
Absolutely.
There's been
Yep.
a couple of those, as well.
Yes.
So
I always remember it. It's kind of a sidebar note. We have these squirrel moments here, and this is one of them. There was a very prominent funeral ceremony that was happening here in Winnebago. The senators for the state of Nebraska they came here. One of them at the time was Chuck Hagel. So I can't remember who was his partner at the time, the other senator, but they showed up.
Ryder?
I can't remember. Secret Service, actual bodyguard, all this kind of entourage and whatever else and stuff like that. Okay, he's from Washington D.C., all this kind of stuff. Hagel walked in, because he
Hagel's
knew.
amazing.
Yeah, he knew, and I think it may have been the late Reuben Snake when he passed. I think it may have been then, but at the same time, he's like shook hands,
Yep.
no fanfare, whatever. He was a man of the people, and it was like, it was just crazy.
And we need
seeing the
more
two.
of that, right?
Oh,
We
yeah.
need
That's
more
the way it
working
used
class,
to be.
more middle
Yeah.
class. We need our state legislature to look like Nebraska. We don't have a single African American woman
Oh, wow.
in the legislature. We don't have a Native American woman in the legislature. We did have Senator Brewer representing Native Americans, but this was his last session, so
Oh, yeah.
we will now be without a Native American voice as well. So it's absolutely critical that if you're thinking about running for office, especially to the women who may be listening,
Yes.
it takes 10 times for a woman to be asked to run for office before she says yes. Men, it doesn't take any time. They just decide that they're better than everybody else. So, women, you can do it. We need more women's voices in our governments.
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
I'm very proud to say I believe in that wholeheartedly because at our council table, I have the distinct honor of stating that I nominated both of our female chairwomen. The Darla LaPointe, when she was there, I nominated her for chair, and the sitting chairwoman, Victoria Kitchen. So,
Beautiful.
absolutely, I mean it because when women are represented, the government and our society, it just does better.
Yeah.
It's a balance at the same time.
Yeah,
but
It is. And we just view issues differently, right? I mean, in a lot of our houses, not in everyone, we're balancing the checkbook, the grocery store, our kids, our career, our community events, and we bring that to the table then when we serve in government. And I
right.
think that's absolutely critical.
And then also it fits right in because we also have the choice of the first female president.
right.
Again. Yes, I know the popular winner, but at the same time, this time around it can be a very real thing. So
And a minority
That's-
candidate
yep,
at
on top
that.
of
So
that.
again, all of those life's experiences that's what they bring to the
yeah,
table.
and I just got to say this from my individual point of view. I'm of course supporting, Kamala Harris, and I have no problem saying that publicly. And the main reason is all I got to say it, and I got to be honest, because of her career.
Yeah.
as the Attorney General for the state of California, the sixth largest economy on the planet, she had to have her hands on top of everything, not in the sense of controlling it, but being able to understand it. So getting that type of training, getting that type of experience is absolutely huge. Because then as she transitioned to the Senate, of course, taking over for Barbara Boxer, I believe, it was a smooth transition, and she did some great things representing, the largest state in the union, et cetera. So when President Biden chose her as his running mate, I was like, a really good choice. And even though I gotta say, I have the most respect ever for President Biden, especially in making the choice that he did, a true patriot, to step away from the reins of power, and hand it over. At some point, he was going to do that anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so it happened 4 years sooner than he thought. But at the same time, can you imagine it? The opponent?
No, he would never do that. In fact, I take him at his word when he says this will be the last election we have to vote in, because he'll figure out some way to stay in office beyond the 4 years.
Oh my gosh.
And I think all of us in rural Nebraska can be very proud of the vice presidential candidate on the ticket. He is a Nebraskan,
Yes.
born and raised in Nebraska, taught school in the Sandhills. It'll be the first time, I believe, that we have a Nebraskan in president or vice president. I think
And again,
I think
he
Gerald
taught-
Ford was born
Technically,
but
in
never
Omaha,
never
yeah.
claimed us like Walls claims us.
Yeah.
So
And Walls also, with his degree at Chadron, he taught at Pine Ridge.
Oh,
So
okay.
yes, he's very familiar
Go
with.
Thorns.
Yeah. So, and again, chose his lieutenant governor as Native
yes.
American.
So Peggy Flanagan will
yes.
become the first Native American woman to serve as governor when Kamala Harris and Tim Walz become
Yes.
president and vice
Yes.
president, which will be amazing. And he has passed, you would think that a governor like California and New York have
Sure.
passed more progressive laws, but Tim Walz and Peggy Flanagan have passed the most progressive laws in any state, including universal free lunch. They did a historic land back to state tribes.
Yes.
They've just been crushing it in Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota, I love the political environment that they have, because it's progressive, and that is the most truest word to that. And at the same time, I think one of the beauties of his campaign, not just, as the vice presidential candidate, but also as the governor for Minnesota, was his ability to reach across the aisle.
Yes.
It's
Which is
almost,
what everybody used to
it's
be able to
almost
do.
like he doesn't see politics in that same way. Now, of course, he wears the label and really wears it now, but at the same time, it's like, you're looking at somebody who knows what needs to be done and knows how to get it done. It's not about ego. It's not about, oh, how is my name going to be better because of this? It's going to be how are the citizens' lives made better?
And that's
right.
a true public servant.
Absolutely.
That's a true
Yes,
public
yeah.
servant.
And they're doing it with joy. It is such, horrific nature of the Trump campaign that everything is divisive and angry.
Yes.
Versus Harris and Walz are bringing laughter and hugs and joy back to the campaign trail. So we don't hate politics.
Yeah.
And I think that has a very healing quality to it.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what we're talking about, the W.I.N editorials, et cetera, because I'm not the only writer of those. We want people to express their opinions and then be able to have that robust discussion, because it matters and it's got to be part of that. And I'm glad you brought up that topic as well, because also in a recent conversation I had with a group of friends, we had that conversation. What word comes to mind when you say Harris? And it was things like that. It was actually, a progress drive and those type of things, very positive. And then the opposite, it was almost unanimously hatred, division, some type of negative word came out, and it was like, well, you reap what you sow.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think of all the immigrant brothers and sisters that I deeply care about, who live in Hastings, live in a lot of our rural communities, who quite frankly have breathed life back into a lot of our rural communities, that now have stores on Main Street, that are the backbone of so many of our parts of the agricultural industry in our state and hospitality industry. And the way that Trump and the Republicans, especially J.D. Vance, just have such disdain for immigrants and have said obviously crazy things like
But
they are eating
they're
cats and
immigrants.
dogs. I know. I mean, it's just like the most insane. That's one of the most hurtful things and the most scariest things, beyond obviously women not having reproductive rights under a Trump Vance administration. But how they talk about wanting to round up, that's the language they use, 12 million families and send them, quote unquote, back to where they came from, is just disgusting and anti-American.
Absolutely. I mean, so many things. And, it's easy to go off down that route because they make it easy. But at the same time, the progress that's put forward by the candidates, and then I'm glad you're here to represent the Democratic Party because they are the ones that actually work for it.
Yeah.
That create it. Because like you were talking about, making sure that a tribal ID is an acceptable ID took efforts of people not from Winnebago. I got to say that very clearly and very conspicuously, very adamantly. The representation from Winnebago had no voice in that. But the people who cared about making sure tribal people could use a tribal ID stood up and spoke, and luckily they won the fight.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's always been my promotion, is that what Frank and I worked for years was people, you can't just do stuff when it's election time.
Yeah.
The party and what they do, everything is an ongoing thing. You can't just start up right before this
Right.
is going to happen. And that's what everything is about, is the constant work and those relationships and that
Yes.
information and who's trustworthy and who do you need to educate a little bit more, because
That's right.
they're the ones that can help us to be included and to be representative. So whether it's a native representative or not, you still have to have those contacts.
Absolutely.
That they're going to act on your best interest.
Yes, and the ability to have that kind of outreach, because the Winnebago Tribal Council sponsors a Nebraska Senators unicameral luncheon every usually in February.
Yeah.
It's after the beginning of the session. And so this last time around, I got to attend that as well. I was no longer on the council, but the chairwoman and the officers were in Washington, D.C., actually testifying on behalf of the land back on the same day. So I had the honor of going down there along with, I believe, Councilman Kenny Mallory. And the senators came over, and we had such a robust discussion because I had been to that luncheon before, and it's usually, hi, this is what we're doing. Do you have any questions? No, thanks for coming, whatever. They actually engaged last year.
So good.
The senators who came and had the opportunity, because I know they're busy, and it really, you're cramming it in over a lunch half hour, I
It's
should
kind of
say.
like those DC breakfasts.
Yeah, just boom, boom, boom. But they stayed, they engaged, they wanted to know about certain things and whatever. And that having that kind of outreach was really important, And again, shout out to Senator Jen Day, the chairwoman of I think it's the intertribal, the
Yes,
state tribal.
state,
Yeah, so I'm forgetting her title, but I know what she does. So thank you.
And she's facing a tough reelect this cycle and working for every single vote. And the Republicans, because she's a weightlifter, the Republicans are using this Barbie negative mail against her. And every time I see the mail, because if they're using the Barbie font, I'm like, oh, that looks so cute. It's like, they don't really know the woman vote very well.
Well, we do actually have people that watch us in those districts. So if you're in Senator Day's district, make sure you get your people out there to vote and support her,
Yes.
because she had a huge impact on LB 1288, I believe it was. I may have the number wrong, but it was, impacting the Winnebago tribe. And so without her, we
That
would
was the
not
court
have-
order.
Yes. the-
Recognizing court orders,
Yes.
no-brainer.
The EPC orders from the tribal courts being recognized by the state system. Jen Day was one of the leaders of that, as well as she was here at powwow. Name
Yes.
just flew out of my head. Oh my gosh. Sorry, Senator.
Kavanaugh?
No,
She's from Lincoln.
Raybould.
Raybould,
Jen
yeah,
Raybould,
yeah.
yeah.
I was trying to think of who else had worked on tribal
Yes.
issues. Yeah.
Sorry. That's my error. So if Jane's listening, sorry.
No,
So-
Jane's
And,
amazing.
and
Yes.
sometimes that candidate or that person that's in those elected, even though you may not communicate with them all the time, they have enough awareness to know where to reach out to ask questions, to contact
Absolutely.
somebody.
Yes.
Versus just kind of operating in a vacuum and not caring about us as constituents.
And the one thing that I absolutely love about this, as individuals who are involved with the Democratic Party as well, you guys both have this, so take it definitely as a compliment because it's meant to be so. But Senator Raybould attended the Winnebago powwow this last summer, and of course Chairwoman Kitchian, and they had a luncheon and they had discussion, whatever. The senator's family was also accompanying her. I absolutely loved it, because the chairwoman opened up the entire powwow arena. So there's plus 10,000 natives, not just, Winnebagos, 10,000 tribal people there. She spoke like like we'd known her forever.
I love it.
You know, and I do. I mean, it's like she had such an amazing ability just to reach out and connect. She stood out in the arena, just no fear, and it's like bam, bam, bam. Talked poignantly about tribal issues, not just some political blah, 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 you know, whatever. The things that she had done on behalf of tribal people across the state, because she's a state senator for Nebraska. It was amazing. So, yeah.
It's
And-
really great because, you know, your current state senator, Joni Ernst, does not, I mean, not, she's the
Albright.
Iowa, Albright.
Yeah.
I'm confusing her with Iowa. That's hilarious. Both just as equally bad. She was not representing
No.
the tribal
None
voice
whatsoever.
at all.
No.
And yet it's such a big part of her community and constituency.
Yeah.
And so Dems basically, you know, picked up that baton and started
Absolutely.
running with it.
In
Yeah.
the debate process for 1288, I remember that very specifically. And it was, when I heard it, it was jaw-droppingly bad. And I'm pulling out this sound bite here, but it was like, they have a hospital to take care of their own. Let them come up with their own. And I was like, you do realize this is more than just the Winnebago tribe. There are Indians in other places, you know,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh my gosh, it's like she was so close-minded.
So
Yes.
close-minded.
Yeah.
And we're talking about people getting the health care and the mental
Yes.
health care they need.
Yeah, in
Why
real
you could be
crisis.
so, you know, close-minded was amazing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, as citizens of the state of Nebraska, a right that they should have, and it was simply connecting the dots. All you had to do was just say, I agree with that. But yeah, oh my gosh.
Yes.
I'm glad
But
this
it-
was her last term.
Yes, and I think that was a key point with like Hagel and B. Ryder. The old days of the Republicans and the old days of elections, again, we weren't so negative. And whoever got elected, they still represent you. So you've still got a seat at their table when you need to reach out or, you know, get something
Absolutely.
done. And it seems that we've kind of gone away, you know, from that, is that I'm only here to represent
Yeah,
who
the
voted me in
divisiveness
here.
is-
So
yeah.
it's a really, I think, with the Harris and Walz campaign, and again, their appointments and everything else, I
Yep.
think that'll help pull us away from all of
And
this.
to that point,
anytime.
and that was one thing I was going to bring up as well when we're talking about, you know, the administration for the presidency. Of course, we got anti-Deb, you know, and we say that here, you know, in Winnebago, anti-Deb Holland, you know, became the Department of Interior
amazing,
Secretary.
yeah.
Yes, and it's anti, you know, and whatever. So we say that kind of thing. But I do have a question that I wanted to ask, and now that we're here, Cynthia, tell us about how it felt to introduce the state of Nebraska, and then the comments that you made regarding, of course, identifying the tribes that are in the state of Nebraska when you were at the convention. A magical moment. I watched it live on TV, and I mean, it brought a tear to my eye. Sharon was watching as well, and she was like, oh my God, you know, and it's like, there you were. So please, if you will, tell us about that.
Well, I don't know if there are words to describe that, and at the moment, you're just doing what you need to do. And again, that is our state Democratic Party that orchestrates all of that and really pushes and represents us well at the national, you know, level
Yes.
as well, to get those opportunities with the national, you know, DNC. And that was one of the first and foremost things is, you know, you have to call out, you know, your tribal representation, because we've got 4 tribes in this, you know, state. And so our party did a excellent job at seeing that we were well seated. And again, that all comes with clout. That all comes with, they know you mean business. They know you're serious. It's all, like Frank used to say, you're collecting that road dust and you're putting in the time.
Absolutely.
And those are your end results, that it's not just you're for this campaign, and when that person doesn't happen, then you just kind of fall along the wayside. And so it felt really good, not because I got the opportunity,
Sure.
but to see how much the party has progressed over
Nice.
all of these,
Yeah.
you know, years.
And again, you know, I appreciate your humility in that as well, but I gotta say, you know, forgive me, but it was an amazing moment to watch live on TV. And I mean, you know, it's like, because I can still hear Sharon, oh my God, you know, and then at the same time, Chairwoman Kitcheon also sent out, you know, an email. It's like, you know, I hope you guys were able to capture that, and then we did, you know, and stuff, and so.
And not every state did. Not every state
Yeah.
did call out the tribal nations
No.
that,
Yeah.
you know,
I
their
was
state was
surprised,
founded
yeah.
of, which was surprising. And we were very intentional about making sure that Cynthia was having that honor and led the state's, you know, 2 minutes that we got. We also were very intentional in the color shirt that we chose, which was like a maize color, because corn connects all of our nations and cultures and identities in our state. And then our shirts, you know, all the other states had Harrison Walls on.
Yeah.
And we were very intentional to have Standing Bear, Malcolm X, and Willa Cather, who aren't necessarily partisan political figures, but political in their own right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so that was also an intentional thing by our state party.
Very good. I mean, an amazing experience. I'm glad, you know, I was able to capture it. And of course, it's still on my DVR. But very, very good. And I'm glad that we were able to see that. So thank you again for sharing that with us. An amazing moment. And just to go back, you know, I know that yourself included, of course, you know, Frank and your daughter as well, you know, may they rest and whatever. You guys were all involved, you know, and, you know, Winnebago, I know, also does a lot of really good things. So your family is extremely political in a good way because it's about raising the voice.
Yes.
You guys make sure that is the premier message regarding any, you know, of the individual topics of the day, no matter what is, you know, kind of the hot button issue of the time. Raise the voice, raise the people, and get them out there to say something. And you guys continue to do that. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
So.
Yeah, that was awesome. I was just sitting here taking it all in. 'Cause I'll tell you
So what
what,
do you think, Bethany? No.
I really would appreciate a better understanding of when it comes to voting. And so, like, seeing the voter guide and just kind of actually reading it thoroughly and stuff just gives me a better understanding, because I was 18 when I finally got to participate in voting. And that was a while back, but I am going to kind of put myself out there on that one. When I went to go vote, I was not, you know, informed at all. And so I was only like, you know, just kind of voting just because I was being encouraged to go vote. But I really didn't have a good understanding of any of the chairs in our, you know, anybody that was serving, any of the senators, anybody that was up for vote, none of that. Just that I knew that I wanted to vote for Obama, and that was that.
Yes.
But I have a way better understanding now,
Yes.
and so being able to take in everything, this whole discussion,
I
was
love
very
it.
informative.
And you are exactly the reason why we created the voter guide, because we knew that there were a lot of Democrats and independents who kind of vote along with our side often, who deeply care about a president or one other candidate, and we wanted to show them the whole team, and really start talking to voters that it takes a team of people to get the policies that we care about. You know, I deeply care about climate change and more clean energy. Some people think that that's only a presidential decision, but really it's a
your
state
local.
ledge, it's the county
Oh, yeah.
commission, it's your tribal government who will decide whether they're going to still rely on coal and natural gas or switch to clean energy like wind and solar. So that's why we did this voter guide, to show voters that this is a team of people that are all on the
Yes.
same agenda working for a new path forward.
Indeed.
Yes.
No, that's a good thing to bring up, Bethany, because a lot of people will find themselves in that scenario. You know, I am a political junkie, always have been, you know, and so I'm kind of the anomaly. I paid attention, you know, to even, you know, commentary and whatever else and stuff like that. But most people don't, you know, they tune out for various reasons and stuff. And then at the same time, a lot of them do truly hate the vitriol. They hate the negative. They hate the, you know, it just seems like they're arguing and or, you know, whatever. And that's the reason why they don't pay attention. But ultimately, everything on the ballot impacts you one way or the other.
Yes.
Don't think that it doesn't, because it does. Don't give your voice away. You know, exercise it.
That's right.
Use it. Use it definitely. And you bring up a good point too about what we said, like in your general election, you receive a ballot that has Republican, Democrat, Independent. It's a complete ballot. So that kind of confuses people sometimes, because then when they go in, they think they have this Democratic guide, but you also have all of these other candidates. Where during the primary versus the general, you only receive a ballot for however you're registered to vote.
Yeah.
And then the general, you can vote for whoever made the cut
Yep.
for the general, you know, election. So
Yeah.
that confuses people sometimes, because it doesn't look exactly the way your sample, you know, Democratic candidate thing is
Yeah.
looking. There's more stuff on there, but the party is focusing on, here's what, you know, we're basically endorsing.
No, it's good to know that too, just because whenever I was looking through, I just remember like just being so confused. I was like, I don't know who none of these people
Yes,
are. I don't
it's
know what they're standing
intimidating.
for. Like, I don't know what their message was. And yeah, so it's good that, we have this guide we had a viewer out there. Shout out to one of our DJs, Mackie. He wanted to know where you can find that guide. So I wanted to make mention of that. It's on nebraskademocrats.org, 2024 voter guide.
Yes.
Yes, so you can just go to nebraskademocrats.org. It's right on the homepage. You can click on the Democratic Voter Guide button. We're going to have it in the newspaper as
Yes.
well. We're paying for an ad to go into the newspaper so folks can see it there as well.
And for natives throughout Nebraska, wherever their county that they reside, if they go to that website, they too can look at their county and see
Yes.
what, because there's other, candidates, whoever their state legislator, representatives or county or whatever. So it's, awesome information for those that are techie and just go right to that,
Yeah.
point.
Okay. I think we're past the hour now, aren't we? Okay. So again, we don't want to, by any means cut anyone off. Are there other items that you wanted to bring up that we didn't touch on?
I just wanted to deeply appreciate you all inviting Cynthia and I and having the
glad you guys
opportunity
came.
to visit with you
Yes.
all. And we're here always to answer questions. So nebraskademocrats.org has a bunch of information, but there's also email and phone number on there to get questions answered as well.
Yes, the phone number again that we gave out was 402-946-0005. That's the phone number you can call to receive more information if you want to talk to somebody live. But the website that was shown on your screen is there. And again, remember, this doesn't go away. This is on the Big Voice Radio's Facebook page, so you can come back to it if in case you missed it or didn't have a pen or needed to write it down. It stayed there.
Awesome.
And the information will be in the WIN, that same thing, those different, where to go
Yes.
for additional information for those that maybe aren't Facebook or whatever, so.
So the big things to push out there, and remember, you can still register to vote.
Register to
Till
vote
the
and vote
25th.
in person.
Yes, and then at the same time, if you're not registered, get that stuff done. Get it done today. Get it done now, because if you're registered, then you're good to go on election day. Bring your ID, your driver's license, state issued ID, public college ID, tribal ID is valid. Tribal
Yes.
ID is valid.
Tribal photo ID.
And don't
yeah,
let
yeah.
anybody at a polling location tell you otherwise. You can pull up nebraskademocrats.org's vote center or even the Secretary of State's website, and it says clearly on there.
Yes,
Voter ID.
exactly.
Yep.
So-
And I always tell people, so if you vote in person now this week, you're cutting the deadline too for the postmark if you're doing the early mail-in
Right.
voting. Even if you're one of those who wait till election day, vote early in the day, vote, now when you can, and then you can spend election day helping get your relatives and everybody else contacted if they need a ride or whatever. That too is very important to not only get yourself to polls, but what everybody else
Yes,
that you can
indeed.
help.
Get to
Exactly.
the polls.
Yes.
Get to the polls. Get to the polls.
Be a voter.
Yes. All right.
Use your
So-
voice.
We usually will offer before we conclude the discussion, shout outs. Do you have any shout outs that you would like to give?
I just want to shout out Cynthia because she's not only a huge partner with me, she's also a dear friend, and she's our Native Caucus chair, and I can't imagine doing this work without her. I love you.
Love it.
I
Cynthia?
just shout out to all of my relations, Winnebagos, Yankton Sioux, so everybody do what we do, and that's use your voice and get out there and vote.
Yep. Very good. And again, thank you both for coming up here today. I appreciated our robust discussion. We kind of went all over the place and whatever else, but the main points: get registered, go vote, bring your ID, get it done, and whatever else. If you need more information, that information's on our website. It's on our Facebook page. You can go to nebraskademocrats.org or just Google it. I mean, it's a simple search and find whatever you need to find. But make your voice heard. Don't waste your vote. Don't waste the day. Stand in line if you need to. But Winnebago's, I gotta say, Winnebago's pretty quick.
Yes.
We're lucky. I know some places are like, I stand
So-
in line for 2 hours. It's like, gee.
Tribal nations be loud,
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. Let your voice be heard.
big
Okay.
voice. Thank you, guys.
Well,
Thanks,
thank you guys again
everybody.
for coming.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, my bad. I was trying to be quick about it. But wanted to, that was my bad. BKC.
No worries. I'm still here. So
But we were joined here by Jane and Cynthia, and so you can find those resources as BKC mentioned. You can Google, but we do have this displayed on there one more time here for our Thurston County area, and wanted to just encourage everybody out there to get out and vote.
yes, absolutely. That's the whole point, making sure that your voice is heard, because election day, it only comes around every 4 years for a presidential election. So make sure that you speak on who you want leading the country, as well as the down ballot issues, because they are extremely important. You can find more information on those resources that we shared with you. But we also have other information that we need to share, of course, where we started at the top of the show, the general welfare exclusion payment. The deadline for that is coming up on November 15th. Please do not wait until that day. Get it done today. Get it done now. Get it done as quickly as you can. Have your ID ready, because you need to upload a copy of your photo ID. And then also make sure that those of your relatives who are not on social media, such as elders and our seniors, make sure they know about this as well. If they need help filling out the form, have them get a hold of the Winnebago Senior Citizens Center, and they will be able to direct them in the appropriate place. So,
Definitely.
okay.
Very important information.
Then
over to
also,
that.
another kind of, I guess, pop-up statement, the Winnebago Public School has had a data breach, and so it's caused some pretty hectic issues for them. So they will be dismissing today at 1 p.m., and they will not be having school tomorrow. They do have, I think, parent-teacher conferences or some other type of thing. I'm pretty sure those are continuing to move forward at their scheduled times, but classes are dismissed today at 1 and no school tomorrow. So Winnebago Public School will be closed this afternoon and tomorrow.
All right.
Okay.
Hopefully they're able to get that situated quickly.
Yes. And then I think Garan gave us some other information. The masquerade party.
Yeah, I'm not too, I know that and initially it was, and I think we made mention of it last week, but it was scheduled for next Tuesday, and I believe it's scheduled for Halloween day now.
Halloween on the 31st.
On the
So
31st.
we will post some information on both of our Facebook pages, so look for that once we get the full data of what that is. So
I
the
tried to look. I didn't see anything yet.
Yeah, we want to collect it, but it's been moved to Halloween itself, and look for that coming up probably later today. And then also, don't forget the Winnebago High School football team, Go Big Blue. They have made the All Nations League playoffs, and so they are in a bye week this week, so no game this week. And then once the outcome of the other parts of the bracket are determined, then we will find out who they are going to play against come next week in the playoffs. Playoffs have started though, guys. Winnebago's in. They get the first bye.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Anything else with that?
We'll just touch on it one more time. We did very thoroughly explain it all to you in the beginning of the show, but if you missed that, we do have a big deadline that's going to be coming up, and we have the Winnebago Tribal Members General Welfare Exclusion Payment. So again, $500 payment for adults 18 and older, and you must be 18 by October 19th to get the adult payment, so that day passed. So if you are not 18 just yet, next time. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, you guys ready for the answer B?
Yes.
We're in overtime here, so we'll try to keep it quick. All right. So let's do it this way. Who wants to answer first? And then we'll alternate. So who wants to answer first?
I'll go first.
Okay, so Bethany will go first, and then you'll give your answer. And then next, question 2, Tyler will go first. And then, okay, ready? Question number 1. Last night, the New York Liberty beat the Minnesota Lynx for the WNBA championship. The mascot for the Liberty is Lady Liberty herself.
Ooh.
From which country did the United States receive the Statue of Liberty as a gift? There's multiple choice if you need it.
I'll take that multiple choice.
Was it Great Britain, France, Italy, or Australia?
I know this one.
Great
I'm
Britain,
gonna
France,
say-
Italy, Australia.
I'm gonna go with Great Britain.
Okay, hey, Tyler. You can say the same
say
ones.
France.
Okay, B, France. Okay. And the answer is ding, B, France. So Tyler gets that 1-0. All right. Question 2. Sadly, Nebraska has become a so-called red state. Who was the last governor of Nebraska who was a Democrat? Multiple choice if you need it.
I need it.
Okay, Tyler goes first. Was it A, Bob Kerrey, B, Kay Orr, C, Ben Nelson, or D, Mike Johans?
Ooh,
Which one was the last Democrat?
I don't know, so I'm gonna guess D.
D, Mike Johans? Okay. Bethany.
I'm
Bob,
gonna go with
Do you
Ben.
need him again?
No, I'm gonna go
Okay.
with Ben.
Ben Nelson?
Yeah.
So that's C. And the answer is ding, 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 Ben Nelson. So
Dang,
it's
I was- that
1-1.
sounds good.
Yeah. Bob Kerrey was prior to Ben Nelson. Kay Orr and Mike Johans were
was like
both
Kerry, I-
Republicans. Yes. Okay. Question number 3. The comet Shan, made its return to our solar system recently after about 80,000 years. I saw it last time. No, just kidding. Last appearing when woolly mammoths and saber-toothed tigers roam the Earth. In 2029, an asteroid will approach Earth at a range closer than most satellites orbit. What is that asteroid's name? I have multiple choice if you need it.
I'll
Bethany.
take it.
Is it A, Apophis, B, GE 599, C, Phobos, D, Shoemaker Levy 9?
How to
I
get
know
that
I
name?
know.
Those
Can you
are,
say it again? Sorry.
was it A, Apophis, B, GE 599, C, Phobos, D, Shoemaker Levy 9?
Man, I've seen something about this. The name that I thought it was not, it wasn't even mentioned. So
Dude,
it's
I was
okay.
thinking
okay.
Haley's comment.
It's a shooting star.
In
No, I'm just kidding.
2029.
Apophis.
A, Apophis? Okay.
I was gonna go with that one too.
A, and you were both correct. Ding, 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 ding.
Oh.
Yes. The asteroid Apophis was found many, many decades ago, and after it was found, it was originally thought to be striking the Earth, but now with modern technology, it is going to come very close to the Earth, but inside of where, like if you're watching satellite TV or listening to Sirius XM, that satellite is further away than this asteroid will be to the Earth. Yeah.
Crazy to think about.
Yeah. So Apophis in 2029. I believe it's actually going to be visible in the sky from Western Australia.
We need to book our trip. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, to that point, when I was
It's a
listening to
sign.
that, the guy said, "Don't worry, the nerds have booked the rooms already."
They're getting that shot.
Yeah. So okay. So number 4 then. So that last time was Bethany was first, so now it's Tyler. Okay. Astrologically, we are in the last day of Libra.
Oh no, we had a great run.
Yes, we did. Scorpio begins tomorrow. What follows Scorpio? There's multiple choice if you need it.
Oh, I know it.
Okay.
I go
Yep.
Sagittarius.
Okay.
Sag.
You're saying that too? Okay. Yep. And it's Sagittarius. You both got it right. So we're tied.
So tomorrow is my day to shine.
Yes, it
You're
is.
Scorpio.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And also shout out to DJ Blue. Happy birthday, Blue.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So
Celebrating out in the big world.
yes, he
Bliss.
is doing it big. I think he's in
Yes.
Italia. Viva
Mhm.
Italia. Say that. Where's my ticket? No invite? What's up? No,
I
just
could have
kidding.
fit in your pocket. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, and then the last question. Who invented Post-its?
Ooh, I don't know.
Multiple choice if you
Yes.
need it. Bethany. Was it Romy and Michelle? Was it David Niven? Was it Art Fry? Or was it Keith Haring?
Nearing or something like that. Would you say?
Keith Haring?
Yeah, Keith
David
Haring.
Niven?
Oh,
Art
no,
Fry?
Niven.
Niven? David
Yeah,
Niven?
I'm going
Okay.
with Niven.
Tyler, was it?
Let's say Art Fry.
And that's the answer. B. Art Fry. We studied in business school from the pre-M Corp. Don't you remember her saying that? Romy and Michelle claim they invented Post-its. You did not. Well, who did
gotta watch
then?
it now.
Art Fry. So yeah,
Cool
But
name.
yeah. So Tyler. Yep.
Ding ding ding.
victory speech.
I get one of
Nice.
these.
Yeah, they left us some
Some
stuff
nice
here.
stickers
Yeah.
here. I'll
Yes.
put this on my laptop.
Yeah. Okay.
But we went through some really important announcements. Don't forget that Winnebago General Welfare Exclusion Payment deadline is coming up. So make sure you submit your electronic application by November 15th. You can go to winnebagotribe.com for more information, or you can re-watch the stream, and we discussed it very thoroughly in the beginning of the show. But again, that deadline is November 15th to submit electronically. And so don't feel bad, I haven't done mine yet either, but
No,
I'm gonna do it with you guys. But we also had Cynthia Lemire and Jane Kleb
Yes.
here in the studio.
Yeah, really good show here today. The chairwoman of the Nebraska Democratic Committee, Jane Kleb, was here to represent their positions and also fire up the voter base and get people out to the polls on election
Yes,
day
get out and
coming in
vote.
November. So get out there and vote. Shout outs for myself. I want to say shout out to my partner in crime, DJ Sharon Teed, Red-Eyed Redhorn. We've had a lot of stuff that have been going on in good ways and whatever, and sometimes it gets a little bit hectic. So stand up and be strong because you are.
Yes. Time.
I'm gonna shout out. Skip me. Let me think.
Well, I am going to give my shout out. I didn't get to give you guys a formal Winnebago Talk shout out yet, but shout out to MCBKC, Tyler, Snake, and shout out to DJ Blue, all a part of the communications team and celebrated birthdays recently.
Yay.
So happy belated birthday to you guys.
I want to piggyback off that and just shout out communications. We have a lot going on with events wise and just getting things going.
Yes.
A lot of moving parts up here.
Sponsorships.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
also, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
The Neola Walker, the Neola Old Lady Walker Christmas Lighting Contest is going to be coming up in December. We are currently in the process of seeking sponsors to give out prizes, whether that's money, cash. Some people have done gift baskets or other items.
Volunteer judging.
Yeah, that type of thing. But if you want to be a sponsor and have money to give or an item you want to give or something you want to throw out there as a prize, get a hold of Tyler, tyler.snake@winnebagotribe.com, or myself, Brian.Chamberlain, or Garan, Garan.Coons, all at winnebagotribe.com.
Yep.
All right. Well, you all have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day. We hope that you all can get out and enjoy this beautiful weather before it gets too cold.
Right. See you later.
See you later.
You can't be trusted.